Okay, so we have ourselves a replay. Should be a good one. I didn't look at who won. I just know it's a relatively long game, so a lot's got to happen for it to be this long game. We'll take a look at who's on what. You've got Lich here, Slardar, Arc Warden. Arc Warden and Naga already sends you those signals of this is going to be a long game. You've also got Chaos Knight to round out that Radiant lineup. For the side of the Dire, you've got Shadow Fiend, Sven, Sand King, Tiny, and Bounty Hunter. So 3 heroes that are going to give you a stun, as well as a couple of damage dealers here. In terms of Tiny, Sven, Shadow Fiend, I think those are your cores. Sand King in the 4, and maybe Bounty in the 5. He does have a ward, Orb of Venom, and truthfully, depending on where this game takes place in terms of ranking, is kind of a better gauge on whether or not that's gonna be a Bounty Hunter that's producing those support items. Like, you did buy the Orb of Venom. Sometimes people prefer your 5 to go heavily into the wards and whatnot, but we see him go into the Observer ward and the Orb of Venom, so one of those higher end items early in the Orb. And they don't catch up to this CK. They'll try and get around. They do have the Orb of Venom. See if that'll be enough, but he gets away, and it looks like, at least for now, it's a tri-lane for the Dire and a dual lane here for the Radiant. They've got the Lich coming in with the CK, who goes in the early Bracer. Naga mid against this Shadow Fiend, but that's a 4-position Naga, it seems. With the Shadow Fiend by himself. And, you know, here with the Arc Warden and then Slardar in the offlane. So early for the Slardar, you're looking for that Blink Dagger. You're looking to be that gap closer, that initiator for your team. Or maybe even line something up, say, a little later in the game with a song. You've got Lockdown here in the Ensnare, as well as the Chaos Bolt, the Slithering Crush. A lot here that can give you some sort of lockdown. As meanwhile, mid, Bounty Hunter and Sand King both come over, but it's level 1 Necromastery, as is, you know, the standard here for the Shadow Fiend, and he's not level 2 yet, so does not have any raises after being harassed early. So he couldn't get the raises out onto the Arc Warden, unfortunately, and that stops them from getting first blood. But again, Bounty Hunter coming towards mid. And the Naga Siren is here with that passive Riptide. But Barrel Strike comes through, and the Naga coming over towards mid. They're able to get the kill with the Sand King making another rotation, but leaving that Tiny over in the off lane, and they'll end up falling too. So they leave their off laner. They do get first blood over mid. They help out the Shadow Fiend, but that leaves their Tiny vulnerable, and that will end up being a trade. Slardar's doing the best in terms of CS here in the off lane. Now tied in terms of last hits with this Sven. And Sven all by himself, so getting those early levels has one into the War Cry, as well as the Stormhammer and the Great Cleave. He's having a good time. You don't want to go too much into the Cleave. You don't want to push out this lane too much. Having the Stormhammer is always nice. Ooh, Lich getting low over bottom. They've got the Avalanche in the toss. The Burrow Strike comes through. They'll get the kill. Tiny's got himself his first. That'll help out, considering the fact that he did fall a little earlier on. So 2 in the Slithering Crush, 1 in the Guardian Sprint. Not sure if this is before or after the change to the Bash of Slardar. But he's not taking it at the moment. They look towards bottom again, potentially getting this Lich, who's under the tower. But with 3 heroes here, an opportunity might arise. They've got Shadow Fiend low over mid. Chaos Knight going back to lane after being harassed out. 3 minutes in, it's an even game just about, and you've got a Sven, top of the CS. He's got 2 into the Great Cleave, I'm surprised. So maybe he is looking to push a little bit more, but now he's in a touch of trouble. They get a bash to come in onto the Sven, and the Ensnare follows it up. Stormhammer lands on 2. They continue to give chase. Had the Slithering crush, but Sven able to walk away. Meanwhile, Sand King, he's low, as well as the Tiny. They'll get the kill onto the Lich. Bounty Hunter gets that one, but it might be a trade. Meanwhile, Arc Warden dies mid. They're looking for the stun up in 2 seconds onto the high ground. Running away, but there's the stun. One more shot, and a kill coming through for the CK. Stops the clarity, but Bounty Hunter back at full health once again. Doesn't have enough mana for that stun, and into the Shadow Walk, he'll be able to survive. On a couple. A lot of damage being dealt here to the Tiny, who backs off just enough, but you look at this Sand King. Riptide comes in from the Naga Siren to get the kill. They'll look for the Bounty Hunter. CK needs to be careful. Do they have Dust? They have a Sentry, but they don't have Dust. They find him with that Sentry. They don't have Dust, but knowing that he's been occupying this bottom lane so much, they're able to get the easy kill when he's sitting here real low. CK's doing a little bit of the same. He's staying in lane with minimal health. Avalanche Toss combo would get the kill, and that's what Tiny's going to do to try and come through these trees and get the CK. And there it is. Avalanche comes in. Ooh, can't get the toss, and CK's able to just walk away from that one. Taking a look over towards top. Sardar gets hit by the Burial Strike, as well as this Janata with the Orb of Venom. See how willing Sardar is to trade, as the Shuriken does get tossed at the Sardar. He's getting a little bit low. Has a Mango and a Tango, but that's it. This opens up the lane a little bit more for the Sven, who has hit level 6. Let's go into the Great Cleave pretty heavily. I'm a little bit surprised. You don't normally want to be pushing out the lane like that, but a 1v1, maybe he just wants to secure the farm as much as he can. Warcry used. Burrow Strike comes out. Southern Crush is there. God Strength used by the Sven, but they just don't get the kill. Now they find the Sand King. Sardar goes a little bit north. They get the kill onto the Sand King. Sven looking to at least get the Sardar. Doesn't have enough for another Stormhammer, but there with the Janata as well as the Shuriken toss is the Bounty Hunter to get the kill onto the Sardar in return. Mark Warden sitting at 6. So is the Shadow Fiend, the 3-3 build. Toss from the Tiny, but the Reality Rift with the Ensnare and the Riptide. So much damage being done to the Tiny with that armor reduction. And just making that boulder of a man feel like a pebble. And it's a bloodbath back and forth. 11 kills in just over 7 minutes. Farming's been nice for the Dire as of now, with both the Shadow Fiend and the Sven leading the CS chart. Got level 7 here on the Sven. He goes into the Great Cleave and maxes it out. He'll be going Mask of Madness next. Aqua as well as Botto here for the Shadow Fiend. We'll see if maybe a Yule's comes in. Get that Yule's Requiem combo, or maybe a Shadow Blade. Really depends on whether or not you're looking for an initiation and big burst damage from that Requiem to try and go in on these heroes on the Radiant. Naga low mid, raises come in, they'll get the kill, but it will be a trade. Arc Warden will be able to trade the Shadow Fiend, coming at the expense of a Naga Siren's life, but Arc Warden grabbing the kill. That'll boost him up in terms of net worth and finds himself third behind the SF and the Sven. He also picks up a timely regen. Tiny needs to be careful. Avalanche, Ensnare, and the toss comes through. CK sitting low, and Tries to pressure the Tiny, but pays for it. That's a level 3 into the toss. So a lot of damage there. He had Lich and Naga nearby, but not much they were able to do to stop that Tiny from getting the kill when the CK just walks in like that. Sven uses that war cry to escape the damage from this Slardar. And still, it's been Sven over in the top lane for quite some time. And not really seeing much of pressure onto the Sven, but get the Bounty Hunter in. They have the Sentry Ward there for the Dire, so they knew that there was no vision available on the Bounty Hunter. He gets right up under the nose of the Arc Warden, and with the raises, they combine for another kill onto this mid-hero. The Sand King's only level 2. Compare that to the experience of the Radiant, even with the net worth lead of the Dire. You take a look at where the net worth is, and then the experience is in their favor a bit. But, you know, as the game progresses, you've got these supports that are starting to gain more than enough. Might look for the Sven once more. Naga Siren coming in. The ensnare will be thrown. That lands onto the Sven. Stormhammer to follow it up. Guardian Sprint was used. The body blocks coming out from the Naga Siren. Now they've got the Slithering Crush with the Riptide. A lot of minus armor on this Sven. Minus 14 armor. The damage just isn't there, though. So much minus armor on that Sven. He has to be so careful in this lane at the moment. He's got reinforcements in both the Bounty Hunter as well as the Sand King. Sardar sitting level 8. He's got 4 into the Slithering Crush, 2 into the Guardian Sprint, 1 in the Bash, and 1 in the Corrosive Haze going into that Blink Dagger. He'd like a little bit more farm, though. And finish up that Blink Dagger as soon as possible. Arc Guardian, he's finished off the Midas with that Tempest double. His farm's gonna start to bulk up quite a bit. But Shadow Fiend, 1,000 net worth ahead, and it looks like it will be the Shadow Blade instead of the Yules. So Sentry Ward placed down, immediately killed off. Sure that Bounty Hunter can't come nearby. He'll start to back away. They've got the Observer Ward that spotted this Sand King going back. This Shadow Fiend is between a rock and a hard place. And it's continuing to just throw out these Spark Races. The Arc Warden towards me. The raises come in, but it won't matter too much. CK gets a kill onto the Tiny. That is the 4th time he has died already, and he is sitting low in the net worth. And 400 gold behind his counterpart of the Slardar, who is closing in on that Blink Dagger.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Midas gets used by the Tempest double. Arc Warden pulling in the gold now. See if the SF's going to be able to keep his lead. As they've got the Mask of Madness on the Sven, they'll be going into the Echo Saber next. Bounty Hunter, Tome of Knowledge, he's looking to get that track out and away, and he will be level 6 after using it. Requiem. Just a tease. Sentry Ward placed down. They lose that Observer Ward. Bounty Hunter's got to know that they've got a Sentry nearby. I think he's sitting just outside the range of it. That might have been even been right here on the edge. Sardar picks up the Blink Dagger, tied at 8, 13 minutes in. He'll TP over bottom. They've got level 6 on the Lich. He's got Chain Frost available. Could make a move onto the Tiny, and if Sand King shows himself, might even make a move on both. Blink, Slithering Crush, that's the debut. The Guardian Sprint was used as well as the Corrosive Haze. The Chain Frost comes down to the Sand King as well as the Tiny. The last shot will come through from the CK to get the kill onto the Tiny. That is the debut of that Blink Dagger, which does inevitably lead to a kill here for the Radiant, now leading 9-8.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Reality Rift, stun, only 2 seconds. There's the Shuriken Toss. Southern Crush follows it up, and this is going to be 2 more here for the CK, getting both the Sand King as well as the Bounty Hunter. Just cleaning him up, having that ability to initiate so quickly in this game. You know, with the Blink Dagger being the first big item for the Slardar, not going into anything else really except for the Tranquils. He has closed the gap, or become that gap closer for the Radiant side. When you've got another follow-up stun as well as the Reality Rift, you've got a lot of minus armor on this team ready to go to follow all this up and get a kill. Reality Rift comes in once more. Burrow Strike lands on a 2, but they've got the Song. That'll lock in 1, 2, and 3. They'll look towards the Sand King to get this Slithering Crush off. And there it is. One more shot comes in. They'll get the Sand King. Reality Rift. That hits onto the Tiny. They've got the toss, but that's only on the illusion. CK's got to be careful. One more shot till he goes down. The Tiny gets the kill, but he'll be followed up by dying as the Slardar gets the kill on to the Tiny. Meanwhile, Shadow Fiend, he dies over mid, and that
Tower is under attack.
was to just the Arc Warden. He's still working with this Midas. He hasn't picked up anything else yet. He's got 1,600 gold to his name, starting to catch up to the Shadow Fiend, especially killing him off a second time. But the Shadow Fiend has a Shadow Blade ready to potentially get under the noses of the Radiant side and throw these Requiems out to get that burst damage and a couple of kills. Slardar nearby. Janata, Shuriken Toss, track, looking for the Reality Rift, gets out of the way. Slardar needs to be careful. This Sand King's still just level 4. And it's so unfortunate. I don't think they have the damage to get the kill with just these 2 heroes. They're going to need the Tiny on, as well. Tiny could use a Blink Dagger, and that's what he's going into next, but he's still a couple hundred gold away from it. Janata again, Reality Rift comes out. On to the Bounty Hunter. Here's the Tiny, but again, how do you make up that gap difference when you don't have the Blink Dagger? It'll be used with the Burial Strike as well as the Shuriken Toss. Avalanche comes through, and Reality Rift in. They never use the toss. 3-man Slithering Crush coming in, and a save is there from the Slardar to now try and turn this around. The Corrosive Haze is out onto the Sand King, but with CK being so low, you can't quite risk going in like that. And they maybe had one more thing to follow that up, save a Chain Frost. They could have potentially got a full wipe on these bottom heroes and blinking away to avoid that Avalanche. Frost Blast now running away with the Corrosive Haze on him. Tosses him back to the Lich, but still not too far out. Guardian Sprint trying to make up the difference, but now he needs to stop the TP and gets the bash on that first hit. Avalanche comes through. Reality Rift onto the Bounty Hunter. 3 seconds done. Slithering Crush, one more shot, gets the kill. Burrow Strike, here comes the SF. The raise is 1, but no more. They might even look to just get the SF if they can. They need one more raise. The Chain Frost with the slow coming through from the Arc Warden. That might be the save they need to get the Slardar out of there. The Chain Frost bouncing away and not onto the Shadow Fiend with that Shadow Blade to get out of sight.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
So, Radiant's still up 1,000 net worth. Sven hasn't exactly been involved in any of these fights. He's continued to farm over towards top. Believe has finished this Echo Saber. Yeah, there it is with the Mask of Madness. We'll see if the next item is a Blink Dagger for him, where you want somebody like the Sven to get in, Blink, Stormhammer, and be your initiator. Especially when you can get a Stormhammer, use that God Strength, get that stun, and start really doing some damage onto these Radiant heroes. The only problem is, if you're going to blink and initiate and put yourself in the front line like that, you need to be careful to say the Naga Siren's Song. Naga's Song has quite a big cooldown here at level 1. Looking towards level 3, 80 seconds is not as bad, but we do wonder if, Sven puts himself in that frontline position, if he might pay for it from that counterplay that the Radiant do have. So Sand King over mid. And Shadow Fiend going over with the Shadow Blade, but nobody here as they try to knock on the door. Sven over by his tower. Playing very safe at the moment. With 3 of his allies over mid and 1 coming up in the Tiny, who does have that Blink Dagger, but the Arc Warden right here. 4 heroes top for the Radiant. Now he's been spotted. He's taking a lot of damage. The Avalanche comes out. Let's see if he's able to get away. He's been slowed up once again, and now the Sven, who's also in trouble with the Slither and Crush coming through. They'll get the kill into the Tiny. They'll lose the Arc Warden. Meanwhile, Sven, he's got the War Cry. Uses the God Strength, trying to walk out. Frost Blast comes in as well as the Ensnare from the Naga Siren. They might be able to get the kill. The Requiem with the Shadow Blade right on top of the Lich to get so much damage out, but not the kill! The song is through and Lich survives. They also TP out the Naga Siren, the blink away from the Slardar, and they lose the Sven, and they don't get anything in return for the Dire side. Oh boy. Potentially a good return there for the Shadow Fiend. The Requiem just not enough damage to kill off this Lich, and somehow walks away from that without dying. If you told me he was going to survive that after being the victim of a Requiem right on top of him, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But now, I've seen it, and I do believe it.
A soldier's fortune.
Bounty Hunter spots the Naga using the Meteor Hammer. Just 3 last hits out of that. Which is alright going into the Heaven's Halberd. 20 minutes in, it's only a 2,000 net worth lead here for the Radiant, but top 2 on the net worth are both the Shadow Fiend as well as the Sven. Sven really would like to get this Blink Dagger. CK, bottom, in trouble. Reality Rift, but has the Armlet, and his Armlet toggling well. Chain Frost coming through, and will get the kill, but he ends up dying afterwards as the Armlet toggles were not enough. I did think he was going to get out of that, but I guess the good thing on that is that the CK got the kill first. Shadow Blade Requiem available right under the Lich and right on top of him. This time he's not going to survive. Shadow Fiend using that Requiem and blowing up that Lich. Has 3,000 gold ready. And we'll see what he's looking towards next. Could just be straight into the BKB.
Radiant structures are fortified. Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Blink, Slither, and Crush. Corrosive Haze on the Sven. Uses that Mask of Madness, but he's trying to trade with a Slardar and minus armor. That's just not helping at the moment. Slither and Crush, War Cries there, should keep him alive. And with the Great Cleave gets the kill. Arc Warden, though, should be able to trade this one out. Blink, Avalanche, Tiny debuting that Blink. Avalanche toss coming in. The Tempest double used. He's got the Dome. Is it going to be enough? The damage is there with 2 heroes. They'll get themselves 1, but they kind of need to get this Tiny away. The Spark Wraith laid down. The Tempest double doing enough damage to get the kill in return. And Bounty Hunter should have been a little bit smarter about just killing that Tempest double. So the game's sitting practically even, and has been for quite some time, but now you take a look, and Bounty Hunter has been spotted and is killed off with the help of the Meteor Hammer. The ensnare duration is 5 seconds, which is more than enough time to get that Meteor Hammer off. Stormhammer, War Cry. Will not get the deny on the tower, now continuing to give chase to the CK. Armlet toggle and walking away. Sven trying to catch up. Does have the Blink Dagger to get right back on top of him. And CK And yeah, he just gets run down by the Sven. He does take the tower, but
Middle tower is under
a little
attack.
questionable play there coming out from the Chaos Knight. Shadow Fiend bought straight out on the SNY.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Blink Dagger for the Sand King. So you've got 3 Blink Daggers available, as well as a Shadow Blade. So positioning items aplenty here for the Dire. Arc Warden has a Shadow Blade. It looks like he's going into the Hurricane Pike next. Bounty Hunter now showing himself under a Sentry Ward. They know he's there, and he's going to be ripped up quite quickly, as all the heroes of the Radiant surround him, and unfortunately he just has not cleaned up the Sentry Wards that have been sitting mid. Shadow Fiend's got to know something's up. He'll look for the Requiem. It does come out with the Barrel Strike as well as the Epicenter to follow up. The song is there. It's not enough to save the CK or the Arc Warden. Looking for the Meteor Hammer to follow this up. Hits on 4. Now the Chain Frost bouncing around, but it goes all the way to the Sven, which is just unlucky for the Lich. They get the kill onto the Sand King. Avalanche looking for more. Corrosive Haze tosses him right on top of the Sven, and he'll end up dying. Sardar trying to make an escape, blinks away from the Shadow Fiend, but goes right back into his hands and will fall. Force that blink Avalanche, and the Raze is coming in.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Looks like they'll take this tier 2. Spark Wraith laid down, but not really stopping the push. The Glyph comes out. Avalanche toss. They've got track. Phantasm used. The Raze hits. They've got the Reality Rift. That hits onto the Bounty Hunter. Big shots coming out from the CK as well as his illusions to get the kill onto the Bounty.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower has fallen.
Strike. It's just the Tempest double. SF, top of the net worth, despite there being an Arc Warden in the game, but he's going for that Hurricane Pike. Has the Shadow Blade as well as the Midas. So, he's level 16. 3 levels behind the SF too. It's been a bit of a struggle for him to get farm and stay alive, as he's died 5 times in this game. Just a Requiem kill onto the sword real quick. Coming into the half-hour mark, this game is stayed about even the entire time. BKB's now been picked up for the SF. That should give away the fact that they have an Observer as well as a Sentry here. And another Sentry here for the Radiant. What I've been noticing from this Bounty Hunter is just the lack of warding that he is picking up. Look at the Radiant's coverage, it's not amazing. And then you look at the Dire, and, well, there's nothing there for them except this deep ward. Not really doing anything in terms of defensive wards or trying to keep the Bounty Hunter alive and, you know, using sentries to roam around the map successfully, as there's been a couple of sentries that have really just bit the butt of Bounty Hunter. So Tiny building into an AC. SF's got that 10-second BKB ready to rumble with, and they're waiting on the BKB for the Sven, who's a couple hundred gold away from that. Meanwhile, CK is going into his own BKB. Hurricane Pike still being built here for the Arc Warden. Naga's picked up a hood. Has the Heaven's Halberd as well as this Meteor Hammer. And is sitting at level 15. So Naga trying to do what she can to extend these fights and help out the Radiant side to survive. We've seen it a couple times where the songs have come into play and kept these Radiant heroes alive and able to get out. Lich going into the Spirit Vessel. Vlad's here for the Slardar. He's got the Solar Crest picked up. And there's the Spirit Vessel. How many charges are on that thing? 3? Finally do hit that 30-minute mark. Both teams are much more complacent in just farming, which is not the worst thing. It looks like Dire is trying to set up to fight, but all they have to rely on information was that ward here, and, well, that's gone. Avalanche toss, and a quick kill there for the Slardar, who just kind of falls into the wrong neighborhood. And that was a little bit of luck there for the Dire, finding the Slardar coming into that lane, which is unfortunate for that Slardar. But they got the song. We'll see if they can follow this up with anything as they'll look for the Meteor Hammer here onto the Tiny. That lands. A lot of damage coming through. They've got themselves the BKB and the Requiem coming out from the SF. Seeker taking a lot of damage. He'll be the second one to fall on the Radiant side. They'll look at the Tempest double. They'll take that out. They'll look for the real Arc Warden as he tries to get away, but the BKB no longer there for the SF. Sven going in deep. Stormhammer comes out. The damage is there for the Dire to take out a third hero, as well as this tier 2 over mid. So the tier 2 top, the tier 2 mid. 3 heroes dying on the Radiant side, and a 7,000 net worth lead erupts here for the Dire. It's kind of become that point in the game where the Dire need to pressure and the Radiant need to turtle up. Radiant in trouble here of losing that Slardar. They'll look for the Meteor Hammer. Could land onto 2, but SK gets away, but it hits the Shadow Fiend. They got 1, and it was the Sven. Big damage dealer here for the Dire. Ends up dying. Dire going to Roche. Not the quickest of Roshan attempts. The ping's coming in from, I think, the Sven. Maybe even the Naga Siren. I can't exactly tell. That song is available once again. Shadow Fiend coming over and gets to the high ground. Spots a couple of heroes on the Radiant side. Doesn't want to commit to using that Requiem. CK comes around but uses the Reality Rift. I don't know if that was the right move, but the BKB comes out before he gets hit with the Burrow Strike. And it's a little bit defensive. They need to get something out of this. They'd like to get something out of this. And now Requiem will be popped. They'll take up the SF. They'll look towards the CK. The Chain Frost bouncing around, but it won't be enough to get anything just yet as it finally finishes off onto the SK. But they lose 2. They might lose more. Hurricane Pike pushing away the Sven. And there's the Spirit Vessel. So that'll stop him from blinking. The Shadow Blade used here by the Arc Warden. The Song locking in this Sven. They'll look to the Meteor Hammer to follow it up. And there it is. He's no longer got God Strength. The Tempest Double has been summoned, but here comes the Tiny from the side. The damage is not going to be enough to get the Sven just yet, but as he walks away, the Spark Wraiths come through to finish him off. Now they look at the Tiny. They've got 4 heroes around him. The Avalanche lands onto the Arc Warden as well as the Tempest Double. And now they've got more Spark Wraiths chasing him down, and the Spirit Vessel on top of that. Should be another kill here for the Radiant, as they've pulled back this net worth advantage on the Dire side and made it only 2k. Start to pressure over mid.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
You do get that tier 2 tower over mid. Only 1 stands for both sides on these outer towers. Tempest Double trying to push, trying to do some damage here onto the tier 3. We'll get 1 shot in, but that is it. Let's take a look at these items that are coming out for both sides as the Ags is picked up by the Shadow Fiend. MKB next for the Sven. He picked up that BKB a while back. It's now at 8 seconds. Blink Dagger Arcane Boots here for the SK, and now has the Requiem with Ags, but the Guardian sprint. Trying to get out. Blinks out of the trees, getting away. Blink down to the low ground from the Tiny. Damage being dealt here by the SF with just 1 right click, but nothing more to follow that up. Still looking for the AC is the Tiny. Bounty Hunter, he's still going into those Guardian Greaves. It's been a while. BKB for the CK down 8 seconds. As he gets a TP scroll delivered. Arc Warden next into the Mjolnir after finishing off the Silver Edge, and Sardar picked up that Vlad's a moment ago.
Loaded to the gills.
3-second Chaos Bolt. Damage coming through. Mech used by the Bounty Hunter. Won't keep him alive.
A penetrating cold.
They head into Roche.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Heroes coming in to stop this Roche attempt. The Stormhammer lands on 2, but now they've got the Phantasm as well as the Meteor Hammer. This can land on both these heroes, and it will. But the Burrow Strike comes in. Now here comes this Tiny as the Requiem from outside will take out both the Slardar as well as the CK. The damage coming up from the Arc Warden will be enough with the Ensnare there. Now the Chain Frost continuing to bounce. The Epicenter was used, but it gets nowhere close to the Radiant side. They look at the Sven, who's hit with the Hurricane Pike, pushing him back. 3 heroes here. They've got the Ensnare. They'll pop the Aegis. Bounty Hunter coming in. Got 3 heroes for the Dire, and they're looking to Blink Avalanche toss from the Tiny. He needs to find his moment. There's the Blink. Avalanche onto the Lich. Stormhammer lands on 2. The Shuriken Toss lands on 3 of these heroes. They've got the track onto a couple to look for the Arc Warden. The chase is continuing. Spirit Vessel onto the Tiny. Arc Warden needs to try and get out of here. Naga trying to keep them away. Force Staff onto the high ground, continuing to give chase. Stormhammer, Shadow Blade, Shuriken, but the track is out, and they've got themselves the kill. They'll dust up the Naga Siren. They'll continue to give chase. There's the toss with the slow. Avalanche comes in. Naga trying to get back to base. The Force Staff forward. Stormhammer coming in. Naga on the run, but now in front is the Tiny as well as the Bounty Hunter. They've dove past the tier 3. They've got the Slardar. Now with Corrosive Haze as well as the Reality Rift one-shotting this Bounty Hunter as they've gone in too far.
Oh, they stop a TP with a 4-second stun! Southern Crush on top of it. Reality Rift is there. They kill off the Sven. They've chased too far, and the Dire give up too much.
Just too far of a chase from the Dire. All of that gold going back towards the Radiant. A lot of it going towards the CK. He's looking into an AC. Naga Siren survives. Wow. So, able to avoid possibly an early finish to this game, as they'll chase the Tiny. He doesn't have enough mana for Avalanche or the toss, but he gets back behind the tier 2, and that is a TP point that Sawyer does not want to go past. Although they continue to pressure again with SF right here. The Requiem coming out 2 times, and they take the CK easily. They'll look at the Sword Art Avalanche toss as well as the raises. Bounty gets 1. SF gets the other. I don't exactly understand a push like that. Personally, to me, it just doesn't make sense when it's just 2 of you, and you do know the Dire can output quite a bit of damage. And real fast.
Arms for the dead.
So, the Dire will pressure top. Song used, lands on 3, looking for the Meteor Hammer to follow this up. It's a defensive song that doesn't lead to anything. It's a level 3 song, so not the longest of cooldowns. Siren trying to get a Hex, and Arc Warden, like I said, is going into the Mjolnir. CK forming up the AC. Tiny already has his. He's going into a Heart, so it's going to really be hard for the Radiant to break through this Dire shell. Here they go. Stormhammer, Burrow Strike, Requiem probably unneeded. So we'll use it anyway. They get the quick kill on the CK. He might be forced to buy back. And immediately does, which is a bit of a surprise. But Dire are happy with that. They don't even need to really continue forward. However, CK is bringing the fight to them. I don't know about this one. He just bought back and now he's going to be dead. Swoop. Blink forward. Ensnare comes through. Now they'll start to work on the tier 3 as they don't have the CK for 90. But here comes the song. Here comes the Meteor Hammer landing on the 2. The Slithering Crush comes out. The raises from this SF as well as the Barrel Strike in the Epicenter rattling in onto the Radiant, but it's not enough damage to get the kill on any of these 4 heroes that remain. They finally get the kill on the SK. They also take out the Sven. 3 heroes left alive for the Dire, but they're trying to run away. As here comes the Radiant. Odd was used on the Tiny. He's able to survive. They find the Bounty Hunter, dust him up, get the kill, and take out 3 without the CK. And they pick up a gem.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Loaded to the gills.
So 37-32, 3,000 net worth lead here for the Dire. as it's been more, and they've been falling back every time they kind of commit too hard. They don't exactly understand the power of the song, as well as the Meteor Hammer coming in. And it has led to them dying more than a few times. But about 45 minutes in, push mid for Radiant. They won't force 5x as they're up in just a moment, but potentially getting themselves the first tier 3 of the game. About half health. Burrow Strike comes out onto the Arc Warden. They've got the track, CK behind them. Shadow Blade coming through, but the Bounty Hunter's not there. Stormhammer going towards this Arc Warden. CK avoids it from hitting him as well. The BKB's going to be popped by this Sven. Now they look for the Requiem coming through onto the Arc Warden into a pullback onto the Tempest Double. They don't get the kill there, but the CK is all by himself. He's popped the BKB. The Song coming through, landing on a 3. Now CK needs to try and get out of here. The Sven comes forward. The Meteor Hammer's there. The Chain Frost coming in. The Burrow Strike coming up from the SK, but it's not going to be enough. They'll take out the Sven. They'll look for more. Tiny comes into the Chain Frost, and now they take it on a second. They look towards the Tiny as they're trying to do all he can with the raises. The armor toggling is not going to be enough for the CK to survive. He ends up dying dead for 74 seconds. They look over. The Helven's Halberd's out onto the SF. And now Southern Crush with the ensnare. They'll get the kill. 3 heroes dead. They look towards the Bounty Hunter trying to run away. Let's see if they can get him. Blink forward, but he's just out of range of the Sentry Ward that was down for the Radiant side. Buyback immediately from the SK. KB for the Tiny. He was going into the heart, but they've got the Meteor Hammer once again, and it will be the first tier 3 for the Dire side. Bounty Hunter comes out with a Shuriken Toss, but might even just pay with his life for that. But the Burrow Strike lands on 2. Avalanche Toss coming out from the Tiny. Now they're trying to run away with the BKB being pop at the Tiny and trying to find something, but he's taking a lot of damage. He needs to be careful here. So does the Bounty Hunter. Shuriken thrown once again. The Spirit Vessel on him. This could be more than a tier 3. This is looking like melee racks, potentially more. Vatos comes out. Burrow Strike hits. TP in, but there's the Song. More defensive than anything. Avalanche, but Tiny. You need to be careful. 4,000 net worth lead here for the Radiant. They should just TP out, but the Burrow Strike lands. Slithering Crush comes out afterwards, and now SK buying some time as Tiny's coming in. And the Lich has chased too far, or has he? Gets the kill on the SK. And now Swordar is here with the Slithering Crush to come through the Corrosive Haze onto the Tiny. He needs to be careful. He doesn't have the Chain Frost, but the Shuriken Toss hits onto this Swordar. And they've backed him off as they've tracked him up. 6,000 net worth lead and building here for the Radiant, as it looked as though this game could have potentially been over for them. It was all due to the buyback that they used on the CK. Avalanche Toss, BKB, Papa the Tiny. Now they've got the Dome to try and stay alive. The raises come through. The Round of Atos will be out onto the SF, but won't be able to survive at all. And actually a 5-time spree goes the way of the Shadow Fiend, and it might even be more. Swordar trying to run away, avoids the Shuriken Toss, still running. Guardian sprint into a couple right clicks coming in, and SF gets another, but they lose the Sven over mid. Rosh is up, Aegis Cheese available. Not the wisest idea, CK.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
Honestly, could have just died there from Rosh had he finished that swing.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Guardian Greaves finally finished for the Bounty Hunter. A little bit of damage being done here to the tier 3 over top. get the Aegis and the cheese. So they finally come back over with CK full health. They were down 2 heroes, but do commit to getting the Aegis. And that'll be Aegis for the Chaos Knight. Who took the cheese? Our Gordon. Okay. Ags here for the Lich. AC finished for the Slardar. As AC was being built by the CK. So it looks like they'll have 2.
Dire's bottom shrine is under attack.
Gordon grabs this shrine, and now our Gordon's sitting bottom. He'll be tracked up. Does a good amount of damage here with the double damage available, and now the Blink Southern Crush 4-second stun of the Bounty Hunter found out again. Kind of standing there in vision.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
All the while, Naga Siren continuing to split push and really disrupting this Dire defense.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Blink, Southern Crush. A lot of damage to the SK. Nowhere to go. Avalanche Toss as well as the Stormhammer. Arc Gordon just dead. They throw the Requiem out. CK trying to man fight, but I don't know if it's going to be enough, and he'll lose the Aegis. Chain Frost continuing to bounce around. Will finally stop as they Delta Triangle away, but they've got the toss out. 3-second Chaos Bolt. Now they'll look for as the Arc Warden comes back. And Tiny might need to just try and leave. But the Reality Rift comes in. The Spare Vessel is on him, and there's nowhere for him to go. He'll end up dying and buying back immediately. Meanwhile, though, over top, they've taken the tier 3. Slardar might die, but the Naga gets out, and they get themselves a tier 3 tower over top and the tier 3 bottom as well as racks. So just disrupting everything as they split push multiple lanes, and Tiny, who just bought back, needs to be careful. CK trying to man fight the Sven once again. The BKB as well as the Requiem reigns in. And it won't be enough damage to kill the CK just yet, but the raise is hit. They'll get the kill, they'll take the Lich, and that will be 3 heroes dead, as well as the buyback forced on the Arc Warden. However, you lost your racks bottom and lost your tier 3 top, and we're using a couple of buybacks.
So, 45-39. And Dire trying to hold on as best they can. Another Aegis here for the Radiant could just seal the deal. Sven has that MKB. He's trying to farm what he can here. He's already sitting level 25, as is the SF. SK. 4-staff Blink Dagger, but really kind of lacking overall as he's sitting bottom of the net worth. Tiny's also level 25, would like to pick up this Daedalus. Bounty Hunter, he's sitting close to the bottom of the net worth too. The supports here for the Radiant have really evolved into being a destructive force. Naga Siren, stun, Requiem. Song comes in and the immediate TP out with a quick escape. Has been very easy for the Naga to escape. Buy out on an Octarine core. Slides for the Bounty Hunter. Hard for the CK. He's not level 25 yet. We'll see if it's the max Chaos Bolt duration. Could be a 6-second stun. Oh my. Satanic for the Arc Warden. BKB for the Slardar. Top of the net worth is the SF, but hasn't been able to find enough for his dire team, despite being 13-4-13. Getting pretty close to that hour mark, as BKB will be forced out from the Tiny to just TP away. Now sitting at 6 seconds. He's looking at a butterfly instead of the Daedalus. I'm not too sure how much I agree with that. Would have liked the raw damage. And now MKB instead.
I'll take your tribute.
Shadow Feed's also got Moonshard devoured. Is this going to be Silver Edge for the Shadow Feed? Yeah. And that courier was going to the secret shop, but I guess came back. Track out onto the Lich. But he is backed up by the CK. Avalanche coming in onto the Slardar. They have a ward here, and this will spot them wrapping around. They look for the Lich. The damage is out, and one more shot. Trying to hold it for the SF, but Sand King ends up getting the kill with the Caustic Finale. Meanwhile, BKB popped here from the CK, and that will be Mega Creeps for this Radiant team. We'll lose the CK in return, but I do think the Dire can deal with Mega Creeps. If they play their cards right, itemize correctly from this point on, if they get enough time, they should be able to deal with these creeps efficiently. Sven's certainly more than enough equipped to deal with it. You kind of have to turtle up, though. Unfortunately, that does give a lot of control to the Radiant team. At the same time, I think it's the right play. Bounty Hunter, he's looking towards a Spirit Vessel. But again, 2.5 minutes till the next Roche. Aegis Cheese Refresher Shard could be what secures the Radiant victory. Creeps do a little bit of damage here to the tier 4s. You have to turtle or push out these lanes efficiently. But the problem is pushing out these lanes is dangerous. Not having buyback and just dying is what could finish this game off for the Radiant too. Without the Aegis, you've got buyback only on a couple of heroes. You almost have it on the Sven, but if you lose a hero important to the defense without buyback, that could be a problem. And what's helping you here is the CK continuing to commit far in, and well, Avalanche toss, and everybody's here to get the kill. He can't be pushing like that without his team. So again, they continue to try and let these creeps push in from the Radiant side of the Dire, ready to defend for a strike. Requiem. And it does come in, but the song is there, and now Naga trying to walk away. Meanwhile, they get the kill on the Slardar. They might even get another one here on the Lich. Chain Frost coming out, but it never bounces. Arc Warden, as well as the Lich, will try to kite this Tiny. Spark Wraith again. And the damage just isn't there when he's so tanky. 40 armor to his name. They get yet another kill, and Dire only down 2,000 net worth despite being up against Mega Creeps. Dust, Requiem, Avalanche, as well as the stun. Arc Warden with the song. He gets away, so the song saves him again. This is a spot that you just can't be in. You're out trying to do stuff like that and losing tier 4s. Mega Creeps invade the base. The Tempest Double is there, and now the Ancient's exposed. So this becomes a bigger problem. When your Ancient's exposed, and going out to get those kills just isn't really an available answer at this point. There is still a possibility the Radiant just throw this away. They don't have proper buybacks, but I mean, they're just missing Naga and Slardar at the moment. And there's the song on to 5. They've got to set something up with this. They don't throw the Meteor Hammer with it. The BKB's going to be popped here by the SF. They've also got the Requiem Slardar in trouble. The Avalanche Toss follows it up. They'll get the kill. CK trying to hit the Ancient, but again, in too deep and falls once more. Just a lot of sloppy play coming out from the Radiant again. Uh-oh. Which fortunate enough to get to the low ground. Again, just trying to use these illusions to force their way in through the door. Song used again over bottom, but the BKB comes out from the Sven. And now needs to be careful. Avalanche Toss, Hex, but all just buying time for the team to get Aegis Cheese Refresher.
Immortality.
We're over the hour mark. Watching Mega Creeps continue to try and invade the base. Satanic is here for the Arc Warden. He's got the cheese as well as the Aegis. CK. Kind of low in terms of net worth. Where you thought he might be. Again, they'll send in the Tempest Double. Again, 180 gold gets picked up for the Sven, who's picked up a Divine Rapier. He's now going into a Moon Shard. One of the things that becomes a problem when you pick up a Divine Rapier like this is your BKB is only 5 seconds, so you have minimal time to work. You need to be able to output a lot of damage very quickly, secure your team the fight, as well as escape these fights. Now, do you lead with the BKB, or do you try and hold it to be defensive? That's really the question. definitely a necessary evil here as the CK tries to go in again. They have the Burrow Strike to follow it up. And Sven doing a lot of damage to clean up the CK, who has buyback at 99 seconds. Chain Frost bouncing around, Southern Crush onto 2. They'll drop down the Spark Wraith, but Sven gets a double kill, looking for more. Arc Warden hit with the Burrow Strike. There's the Aegis being taken away from him. Avalanche Toss coming through onto the Naga Siren, who's on the back of this. They use the Epicenter. They look for the kill onto the low ground. Shuriken Toss, Stormhammer, triple kill for the Sven. And he's holding. Ancient drops down to about half health, but survives, and that's all that matters. $8,000 net worth lead here for the Dire, but they're the ones playing the counter step. Radiant will continue to try and posture, but it's just not finding a home. They also have a Divine Rapier here on the SF. So, Moonshard should be here for the Sven. The question is, are you holding buyback if you just lose if you die anyway? And the answer is probably no. You probably don't hold a buyback. You're giving up a Divine Rapier. At that point, you're probably just dead. They spot the Naga Siren. There's the song. Feeling a little bit helpless and just, well, kind of songs. Feeling in danger. I don't think had vision off that. Oh no, yeah, I had the observer ward. I stand corrected. So Naga Siren now top. Bring the Sven in. Naga Siren needs to be careful. There's the Stormhammer. Doesn't have Song for 22 seconds. The damage is out. They've got themselves the Hex. Now they'll continue to chase. They've got the Burrow Strike to follow it up, as well as the Avalanche. And this is more than enough to kill the Naga Siren. It'll just take a second longer. Sven just continues to hold. So MKB picked up for the Tiny. Tome of Knowledge bought by the Bounty Hunter, or maybe by accident. Unless he used it and got to 25. I wasn't exactly watching as he immediately got to it. But 300 track gold. See if it matters. Looked like the turning point was really when Dire were trying to take the tier 3 tower top. They almost took it. They committed a little bit too hard, went to the high ground, and ended up losing 2-3 heroes. Unfortunately for them, that was where the game changed pace. And now they've been playing this a game of defense, this tower defense. Haven't been able to do much with it. But Sven dies. The Divine Rapier dropped down. That'll be picked up by the CK, and he buys back, so he wasn't holding buyback before. But they've got the Burrow Strike. CK's an easier target to kill with the break and the damage they've got in around him. He'll pick up his Divine Rapier once again. Meteor Hammer. There's the follow-up. It's there with the Arc Ward in, but they've got the Burrow Strike landing on everybody. The Requiem follows it up. Chain Frost coming around. Sven might die again, and there's the Divine Rapier on the deck. They've got the Orchid. They have the damage, more than enough to kill this Lich. They need to pick up this Divine Rapier. Take away the Blink Dagger. Takes away the Axe.
Dire's Ancient is under attack.
All that time extending that far. Bounty Hunter's the one trying to defend. Missing the Slithering Crush. Shuriken Toss gets the kill. That extra Shuriken Toss damage, but he needs somebody to come help. And finally the SF and the Tiny are here. Dire Ancient still sitting at about half health.
Invisibility.
Naga lands the Meteor Hammer, but not much more afterwards. Still trying to defend against these mega creeps, and it is pretty difficult to do so. They've cleaned up quite well. They've got 2 Divine Rapiers here on the SF. It's also saved up 3,600 gold. They'd like to have the Aegis on him, too. Radiant need to find their spot to go in. It needs to be with everybody, though. They cannot continue to just throw bodies. BKB with the Phantasm, but the Requiem on top as the BKB expires. CK is just dead again. He's got buyback. The song comes in. They've got the Epicenter, but it won't do enough damage. And now the 4-man Meteor Hammer with the Chain Frost bouncing around still won't supply enough damage. There's the Storm Hammer. The damage out onto the Arc Warden will get the kill. And now, Raze is used. Naga trying to get this Ancient. They need to stop the Naga Siren as now you lose the Lich. Damage coming in and with nobody around. And the Glyph used. No way to damage the Ancient. It is 4 dead on the side of the Radiant. And a 26,000 defensive net worth lead here for the Dire. This is horribly unfortunate for the Radiant that they just can't put the tools together. Doesn't help that SF's hitting for 974. What is... Spend saving gold. We'll see if he goes into another Divine Rapier. I'm not too certain he needs it. Again, just dealing against these mega creeps. It's a 3rd Divine Rapier here for the Shadow Fiend. Gets rid of the Blink Dagger. Has the Ags, Butterfly, Shadowblade no longer holding a BKB.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower
And they'll try to
is fortified.
finish.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Going straight for tier 4s. BKB is going to be popped by this Sven. They'll look with the CK, taking a lot of damage. Here comes the Tiny Avalanche use. Will finally hit with the toss. They're trying to get the kill. The Spark Wraith uses as well as the Arc Warden coming in. The Ancient only has 1 tower in front of it before it goes down, but there's the song! BKB isn't enough! Meteor Hammer on top of it. They've already lost the sword. Our Burrow Strike comes in from the Sand King, trying to charge up the Epicenter. They look over at the Naga Siren, who hexes up the SF. Requiem again, Reality Rift. Oh no! 3 Divine Rapiers have been handed
Radiant's middle barracks are
to an Arc Warden. Oh my. The net worth shift that we just witnessed. And the Tempest Double will try and do it here, but unable to do so. That was just a 30,000 net worth death. Wow. Are they leaving that 3rd Divine Rapier? Yes, they are. Sardar has been removed from the match due to inactivity. But he died in that last fight?
I don't understand.
Arms for the dead.
He's still playing, isn't he? Has he just had a death timer long enough where it bugged? What's it? He's still here. He's level 25. I don't... Okay. Shadow Fiend trying to build another Divine Rapier. CK has picked up a Divine Rapier, that third one on the ground. Now, I believe technically playing this 4v5. $14,000 net worth and need to try and make something happen. Tempest double bottom. Hurricane Pike used. Broken. Raises. Gold coming in for the SF. Gotta remember, he sold out on his items to get where he was with the 3 Divine Rapiers. It's heart-wrenching.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Roche is up. Aegis Cheese Refresher Shard. They'd love to have an Aegis here on the Arc Warden. Now up against Mega Creeps. It's so hard to think that you're going to win at this point. You've basically given away 1,000 damage in that last exchange. He'll try for it. Aegis Cheese Refresher Shard. They will get it. No contest coming in from the Radiant, who have been oddly wrapped inside their own base. Definitely a bit of a surprise there. We'll send that Tempest double out, but again, cleaned up. They are starting to farm their way back in. Shadow Fiend grabs another Divine Rapier, but elects to give the Aegis to Tiny. I would say you have slots open. You'd like to have the Divine Rapier in your hands when you come back up, and SF's one of those really good Aegis carriers. I don't know if he wants a slot just for a Divine Rapier if it gets dropped, but at the same time, I wonder why. I don't think you're gonna get those opportunities to get the Divine Rapier back. Naga Siren goes in and dies. Okay. But Arc Warden doesn't really need to move a muscle. He's got bots level 2, 2 Divine Rapiers, and is sending this Tempest double out on its way every moment possible with the damage that he possesses. He's able to single-handedly pull out these waves, or push out these waves. SF saving up gold again. We'll see if that leads to another Divine Rapier. They want the Nullifier on the Arc Warden. Saving up 8,000 gold. Again, will be buyback, but he doesn't have the Aegis. So his buyback... worth it, I would say, for the Arc Warden it is. At this point. Even without the Divine Rapiers, I think you can produce a lot to these fights. SF needed to be careful. He now has eaten the cheese. This Aegis only has about 3 minutes remaining on it. So finally the nullifier picked up. Has a little bit of surplus. Has buyback ready to go. Radiant's picked up here for the SK, who won't have buyback. Let's switch it over to the buyback. See that you've got 3 heroes here for the Radiant, 2 for the Dire that have it. SF doesn't have his for another minute 20. Neither does the Tiny. As they are the ones starting to put pressure out. Sand King finishes this Radiance, but is continuing to hold it in his backpack. So they're hoping that they could find potentially somebody with a Divine Rapier a little too far out. I would say CK is the only one potentially there. And he gets spotted for a moment by the Bounty Hunter. Unfortunately for him, it's just the Bounty Hunter. Gem drop down. Given to the SF, who had that slot once again. Throw strike misses. Force Staff as well as the Hex coming out, but the Avalanche toss, the Reality Rift coming in with the BKB being popped by the CK. A lot of damage being dealt here by the SF. Backs off with the Shadow Blade. Now the Chain Frost bouncing around onto these creeps. They've got themselves the God Strength. They'll take out the Bounty Hunter. Now they'll look for more. They'll take out the CK. He's going to drop this Divine Rapier onto the deck, but there's the Song onto 4. Looking for the Meteor Hammer to follow this up on 3. There it is, coming in, Reality Rift once again, and now the Sven taking a lot of damage. Needs to be careful with the Archorn onto the high ground, who will get the kill onto the Sven, taking out the Bounty Hunter as well. They'll get the Hex onto the Tiny, looking to chase him down. The Ensnare is there to lock him in. They'll get themselves a 3rd. They'll look for the SF, trying to run. Sentry Ward placed down. They've also got SK just TPing out. Buyback comes in from the Tiny. Meanwhile, you take a look. Naga going in, Avalanche toss. Trying to lock in the Naga. They've got themselves the track, and they will eventually get this kill.
Dire's courier has been killed.
Dire loses its courier too. Divine Rapier has fallen. I don't have buyback here on the CK. It's man. Neither team willing to finish it off. So, Dire retake that lead. Wondering what they can do. They did force the buyback on the CK again, who's been just throwing himself at the front lines. 3 Divine Rapiers here for the Arc Warden. He finally picks it up. 2 gems are in there. Little well right there to try and keep safe.
Dire's Ancient is under attack.
Ancient's back to full health here for the Dire. And Roche potentially up in a minute. So Dire looking for a way out, an exit strategy, and that's probably going to include fighting. The CK is back up, but they can't leave their base too unguarded. And these are 4v5 fights without the Slardar, who is AFK and has been AFK for the last while. However, Dire doing a good job of pushing these lanes out. They've got mid to the river. SK here by the stairs. Top over towards the river as well.
Loaded to the
Have to be able to take out this Arc Warden. He's hitting for 1,126. Only the Shadow Fiend really comes close on the side of the Dire. Epicenter. Force Staff, Burrow Strike. I believe he might have stopped that Epicenter a little bit early. And now there's the song coming out from the Naga Siren. The BKB will be over, and the song lasts to lock them down. They'll look with the Shadow Fiend continuing forward. He does have the double damage. The Burrow Strike not going to land. And now let's see if this fight continues forth for the Dire to get themselves potentially a win here. Look at the CK 4-second stun. They pull in the Sven. He's in so much trouble. The Burrow Strike comes out. Now they'll look for the Requiem to follow this up. The Hex comes out of the SK. They'll lose him to 2 dead on the Dire. He'll buy back immediately. They've got the buyback on the Sven, but they'll lose this Shadow Fiend. Drops the gem, drops the Divine Rapier. Down goes the tiny, wicked, sick ultra kill here for the Arc Warden. That could just do it. Sven and Bounty elect to push over top, but Naga goes mid, and oh, they gotta push through back door. Oh, back door no longer there. Arc Warden will go for the Ancient. The Glyph is used. Nobody coming in. We take a look over at the Ancient. Now, a base race kind of evolving here. They've got the song. They'll look to go back. The Ancient still alive. The Burrow Strike comes out. You take a look over now at the Radiant. They've used their Glyph. They might be in a little bit of trouble. The Chain Frost comes in, but the Ancient falls on the side of the Dire. Radiant win and finish it off.